Aloha, my name is Dr. Melissa Yee, and we're having an ongoing discussion about the issue of fluoridation here in Hawaii. There are some legislators who believe that this would be a very good thing for Hawaii, but as we know from our efforts way back in 2000, starting in about 1999 and ending in 2004 with an ordinance that was passed in the City Council, we know that fluoride is not a good thing. I want to ask you, why do we have to go through this again? I mean, the bill that was passed in 2004 was actually a very good bill because it was pro-pure water, and there was absolutely no mention of fluoride. Can you talk a little bit about the process that had to be gone through?
Well, I worked with Councilmember Rod Tam on this bill, and basically it says prohibit adding any chemicals to the drinking water to treat people.
Yes.
But I knew at that time from an attorney friend that, the state can always override that. So with all the research I was doing, I helped to draft up these clauses to say, okay, if the state does override it, the chemical that is used has to meet certain criteria. It cannot be industrial grade. Okay, I mean, that's common sense, right? You want pharmaceutical grade if you're going to be treating people. The chemical cannot contain contaminants which would exceed the goal for contaminants from the EPA, like lead, arsenic. It should be 0. Unfortunately, most fluoridation chemicals have those impurities, okay? And chemicals cannot cause corrosion of the piping system when accelerated. Fluoride combined with chlorine, there's a published study on that. It does do that. And it should be approved and tested for safety by the FDA. All the fluoridation chemicals are not even close with the FDA. They bypass the FDA by putting them into a category called water treatment chemicals and let the industry control the quality and whatnot. And that's totally mind-boggling because it bypasses the whole FDA doctor-to-patient system, okay? And then the other thing is it should be tested based on worst case for safety. Like they tested for carcinogen, they used the laboratory grade 99.9% better purity. And even then the male rats had cancer. But the actual stuff they put in is 13.3 times more heavy metals allowed. And it's night and day, and that's why there's so much controversy in studies that say, it's safe, there's no cancer, or it's not safe, there's a lot of cancer, okay? Because of the wide range of the impurities, that alone, okay? And
Merton, maybe you could tell us what are the actual chemicals they use in fluoridating water supplies? Because in your business of selling chemicals to Hawaii, you encountered what they were using for the military bases.
It depends on the size of the system. A simple way would use a sodium fluoride salt. It's safer, where you can just add in so much in a drum that the water diluted. You have a maximum of 4% concentration, and just feed from that. You have a consistent amount compared to silicon fluoride, where using an acid, and it can have a fluctuation of the level of fluoride. One of the biggest problems that they overlook in all of this, the amount of fluoride that has to use for a system. The CDC gave an example of a little town using 1.3 million gallons per day. That small town will use over 8,000 pounds of sodium fluoride. Hawaii, Oahu, uses 135 million gallons of water per day. You talk about fluoride needed. All that fluoride that's going to be dumped on the drain, in a yard, will stay there forever. It's a massive amount, and no one's looking at the overall pollution that it would create. That's one of my other concerns about it.
Right. Well, we could talk about this for a long time, but I just want to talk about the practical aspects of fluoride, because what a lot of people don't realize is that fluoride is already in our toothpaste. We're getting it in the fluoride rinses when we go to the dentist, and we're actually getting a lot of it in our food. And you've researched quite a bit of that.
Well, the food, yes, I research a lot about food. And if 90% of Hawaii's food comes from the mainland, then I'm thinking and even organic vegetables, you can use that California water. And, California, some places they fluoridate. You could get kind of crazy thinking about how much fluoride you're actually ingesting without, even if as you try to buy organic to dodge it. But I would say that don't let that dissuade you. I would say to people there's so many things online that you can research of other communities, what they did regarding fluoride, or if you want to really know, you could even type danger next to the word. So if you were afraid of fluoride, you can put fluoride danger, and then on the search engine it'll come up. That's how you can do your own research. And what I learned from researching all these food things is that there are so many grassroots groups trying to help other people that it will make you stronger if you just keep it up, just researching. So,
could I add one thing to that? If you look at the overall fluorosis, and the CDC keeps saying it's just cosmetic, fluorosis actually shows the amount of fluoride, excess fluoride that a person is consuming. We're getting fluorosis in places like even Hawaii that don't fluoridate the water. Because it's in our food, it's in the fertilizer in the ground. So to add more, it's suicide. Because worldwide, people, because you brush teeth with a fluoride toothpaste, you use a mouth rinse, you're getting fluoride. You eat in the food, you get fluoride. You can't get away from it.
Yeah.
And no one keeps track of the total amount that we're consuming, but it shows in the fluorosis.
Right. It's actually quite surprising to look at some of those lists of foods containing fluoride. Tea is one of the highest. Black tea especially. Grape juice, the different vegetables like spinach, even carrots have high amounts of fluoride in them. And this happens naturally, but part of it is coming from the fluoridated areas where the food is being grown. And then on top of that, we're using fluoride on a daily basis in our toothpaste. But also there's time-release materials containing fluoride that the dentist is giving you whenever you go to have your teeth treated, that is contributing to that total amount of fluoride that your body already has without needing water fluoridation as well.
Well, if you have kids and you're feeding them juice,
yes,
and it was from a concentrate, but then the bottle came from California or something, that could be fluoridated water.
Right. Grape juice is actually pretty high in fluoride. So grapes and raisins that you're giving to your child, thinking that those are healthy foods, you're actually adding to the fluoride accumulation.
Even wine and beer.
That's right. So, it's all around us. And why do we even need another chemical in our water supply when we're already fighting Red Hill? The situation there, and we feel helpless, and yet there's so much that we could be doing. So if we're going to look at practical things we could do, there's already a group here in Hawaii called purewaterhawaii.org that is working towards bringing awareness to people, and they're going around educating people about the need for pure water in Hawaii. There's also a group on the mainland called Fluoride Action Network, and they've been very active in creating a lawsuit against the EPA, and that's in process. Maybe Adrian can tell us a little bit about that particular lawsuit.
Well, back in 2017, the son of the founder of Fluoride Action Network became an attorney, and he filed a lawsuit, well, filed a petition with the EPA. Okay, so this is how thick the petition was. Okay, and it's got over 300 citations in it to back up his case, and basically he's asking the EPA to stop all fluoridation nationwide based on the Safe Drinking Water Act that says if there's a known chemical that is causing harm or could cause harm, EPA has the authority to say, stop that. Okay. This is part of the process you have to go through. The petition got denied, so now then they go to the litigation side, then they filed a lawsuit, and filed it in San Francisco. The EPA asked the judge to dismiss the case, and the judge said no. Then there was, from 2017 to present, there were some additional studies, like that Bashash study came out, and some other studies that the attorney wanted to add on to the lawsuit and the petition. And EPA objected to that, and the judge said no. Okay, so now they were in a discovery stage where, you know, each side can go and do discovery to find out what the arguments are and all that. And there's a scheduled, I think a trial is scheduled for August. Mm-hmm. So this is how people can help. The action they're taking is long overdue.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say, oh, these are Chinese studies or they don't meet the gold standard. When you're talking about 300-something studies,
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking substantial documentation. I mean, I remember the health director back in 2000, he says, oh, you cannot go just by one study. You have to have 2 or 3 studies to back up that one study before you can kind of say, oh, maybe that's right.
Yeah.
Well, when you got over 300-something studies, it means some people have to go and do some homework
Right.
before they start spouting off, oh, it's safe, and, you know, there's no studies that say it's bad and all that.
You know, the issue of GMO has been raging for many years, and already in the beginning, people were saying, well, somebody needs to ban it. We need to have a lawsuit against Monsanto to stop this. And I think it was about in 1996 that Roundup started being used quite extensively. And now we are in 2019. And the 2 cases that have come out in court where the people who had been using Roundup quite prolifically, you know, have been awarded 80 and I think it was $87 million for the damages that were caused to them, that they now have cancer.
Yeah.
So that's a very short period of time. But fluoride has actually been around since, was it 1945 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. You know, so that's an ongoing experiment that the American people have been exposed to. And yet we continue to say that fluoride prevents tooth decay. What do you have to say about that, Merton or Gina?
Just as a point of interest, you know, fluoridation was done a long time ago, 1939. Hitler used to fluoridate the drinking water of prisoners. They found out that by fluoridating, it altered their mind. They can manage them better. So what happened is he required less troops to guard the prisoners. And that was documented. 1939, Hitler fluoridated the prisoners.
Yes.
And it wasn't for their teeth.
Right.
Right, and then I think in the 40s and 50s they used to use fluoride for hyperthyroidism, to lower the thyroid.
Right.
And it was also used as cockroach.
Right. We have a canister right here.
Oh, okay, so you have
that says sodium fluoride roach killer. And this is exactly what we're using in our toothpaste. So how can we believe that it's even safe?
Can I just add another point?
Yes,
okay,
please.
so you know how you were talking about food and that's something ingested, but on the skin is eating. So, and it's 10 times more powerful when you put something on your skin. So like if you're taking a bath in it, and like even in like natural medicines to bypass the liver, you can put like just a little bit of something on your skin and you need 1/10 the dosage. So can you imagine, you know, I'm thinking about like just everyday people, they spend their money even on Tide or something like that. And that's on your clothes, and that has parabens and, you know, phthalates. And that's like an estrogen patch because it's like a xenoestrogen. And that's like the worst thing you know, for someone with PCOS or these kinds of things, they're having that. And then on top of that, they're taking a shower in fluoride. I mean, it's just unfair. The working person can't handle all that.
One important thing to that, you read the label on toothpaste, and the
Yes.
exposure limit is super low. And yet, okay, you're not supposed to give fluoride to a child under 2. Well, what happens if you have a baby, 6 months old, and put them in tub water fluoride? You're exposing babies. You're exposing everybody. That's why you cannot just put it and force everybody to utilize that fluoride water.
Yeah.
There's so many cases that it'll hurt a lot of people.
Right. And even when the fluoride was being dispensed, there were occasions where the tubes got plugged up, and so people were getting even higher doses of fluoride in the water supply and got sick. I don't know if they died, but they definitely got sick from it. And I'm sure the military has records of how the plumbing has been compromised because of this corrosion.
Case in Maryland, Annapolis, where that happened, someone left the wrong valve open,
Right.
and the silicon fluoride went in. Well, the closest facility to that incident was a dialysis. The host people there got ill
Yeah.
because of toxic fluoride exposure. One person died from it. You know, so it's happening in the community. I mean, fluoride affects those with diabetes, with thyroid problem, kidney problem. It affects so many people, and yet you cannot just say it's safe and expose, you know, the entire population.
You know, another interesting thing which a lot of people don't think about, you were mentioning about Nazi Germany, is that a lot of the antidepressants contain fluoride.
Yeah.
And another thing is that the Teflon pans that people love to use actually consist of fluoride components. And so when you're using that on a regular basis, you're also getting fluoride into your system.
Well, that's why you keep it out of the water. If you want to put it in medications, at least you're monitored by a doctor, you have controlled dosages, and it's pharmaceutical grade, not some junk stuff that they got from the phosphate industry.
Right.
You know, this isn't the first time I heard of a toxic byproduct being resold, and so the industry is making money by not only getting rid of the toxic waste, they're you know, selling it to the municipalities. But another one was the Kellogg company has this sewage sludge from you know, heavy metals and industrial waste, and then they repackage it as amend. They call it amend. It's like, and it says on it organic compost, and I remember my relative buying 6 bags of this because the Menehune one was gone or whatever. And it was smelling so much, reeking of chemicals, that I said, there is no way this is organic. And so I looked it up online. I put amend, danger. That's how I look up everything like I don't know about. And there was all these little communities in California trying to tell other communities that it's laden with heavy metals. And this amend from Kellogg's was giving it away to little like school gardens for free, and then thinking that people will buy it again or something. And so I ran down to Home Depot and I told them, oh my God, did you see this? That you've got to do a recall. And I was like, my eyes were like watery, like in my little, Honda Fit driving there. And I took it back to return it. And I'm sure the manager didn't tell the upper people about it. But, that reminds me of the fluoride.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we really have to look carefully at this issue, because now that we have all these lawsuits against Roundup and Monsanto and Bayer, the chemical companies are having to look again at what they've been doing for the last few hundred years. First using these chemicals against humans in war, and then now developing those chemicals into pharmaceutical drugs that we're taking for cancer, for all these serious illnesses. And yet there are so many side effects that people are getting sick from the drugs that are supposed to be helping them. So we really need to look closely at fluoride if that really is going to be anything that's going to benefit Hawaii. So I'd just like to hear from you some closing remarks about what we each can do. I know there's an online petition that's going to be put on the purewaterhawaii.org website, and so people can sign up and tell their friends that they can actively get involved in the future if the fluoridation issue comes up in the legislature. But maybe we can start with Merton, and you can give us a few closing remarks about this issue.
The most effective thing a person can do, find out who your representative centers are, call them up, ask them for how they feel about fluoride, give them your constituent of the area, and say, you're strongly against. Enough people call up, hey, they are concerned of being reelected, that they're going to think twice about it, pass it on,
Very good.
So,
Gina.
I think if I had to say one thing, I think the public has to don't leave it for somebody else to make a good decision for the water or for anything you eat. I would say if it has a chemical in it or a chemical company associated with it, again, search with the word danger next to that word. Like if it's on a label, search that word with the word danger, and then you'll start to get the vocabulary to do deeper searches.
Yes.
Yeah.
All I can say is go to fluoridealert.org, okay? And this is especially for all the parents that have young children, and click on the issues and click on infants, and you can understand all the studies and warnings that came out that do not use fluoridated water for infant formula, for example. And do not obviously give them bubblegum fluoride toothpaste. So, for your child's sake, what good is it if they have perfect teeth, but they have bad brains?
Right.
Bad trade-off.
Right. I thank you all for being here today. I think we can get the discussion going about the fluoride issue, and we'll be ready for the legislature in the next session in 2020. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
thank you.
And thank you all for listening in today. Please tune in to purewaterhawaii.org, the website that's recently been posted with information about how you can get involved with an online petition, as well as upcoming events where we will be educating the public more about fluoridation, the benefits and the side effects. So mahalo, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.